Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a different way to measure a life. One that looks past the bank accounts and the job titles and gets to something way more permanent.
For so many of us, this is exactly where the journey starts. Money isn't just paper. It feels like the finish line, right? The ultimate proof that you've made it.
And why do we chase it so hard? Well, it promises these three huge things: security, stability, and freedom. It feels like this armor you can build against all the chaos and uncertainty in the world. But then, if you're lucky, you hit a certain point and realize something. The goal wasn't to get the money. The money was just the key. It was the thing that opened the door to a whole new set of questions, much bigger and way more interesting ones.
Okay, so let's get into this. This first stage of our relationship with money, it really all starts with one of the most basic human emotions.
It's that nagging fear of a surprise medical bill, of losing your job, of just not being ready for whatever life decides to throw at you. And that fear, well, it's an incredible motivator. It's what pushes us to get disciplined, to build systems, and to protect our sense of stability like our life depends on it. And as you build those systems and habits, something amazing happens. That fear starts to fade, and what replaces it is a sense of control. And that feels great. But here's the twist. A life that's only about control can start to feel a little empty. It solves the first problem, but it just uncovers a deeper one.
So, where do you go from there? This brings us to the next phase. That moment when you're not just trying to survive anymore, and that constant pressure to earn, save, and invest finally starts to lift.
For maybe the first time in your adult life, things get quiet. That frantic energy you had while building everything is gone. And in that new silence, a new thought finally has room to breathe.
And this question, this one changes the entire game. This is the exact moment that wealth stops being about the numbers on a screen and starts being about meaning. You stop asking, how much do I need? And you start asking, what is all of this for?
There's actually a cool psychological term for this exact feeling: generativity. It's this deep, fundamental human drive to create and contribute to things that will outlast us. It's about investing in the future and guiding the people who come next. It's the perfect answer to that big question: what is this freedom for?
So if the new goal is to guide the next generation, how do you actually do that? It's not just about cutting a check. It's about being intentional about passing on the things that can't be bought.
Now, this is such a fascinating concept. We all know what a legal will is. That's for your stuff, your property, your assets. But an ethical will, that's something completely different. It's not about distributing your wealth. It's about transmitting your wisdom. It's the place you pass on your values, your biggest life lessons, and your hopes for the future.
And get this, research totally backs this up. When you ask people what they most want to leave behind, the answer, again and again, isn't the money. It's their values, their character, their wisdom. That's the real inheritance.
And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea, it's something scientists actually study. They use tools like this social generativity scale to literally measure that impulse to give back. They'll ask people to rate statements like, I try to do things that will survive even after I die. It's a way of putting a number on our innate drive to leave the world a little better than we found it.
The best part is that this kind of document is completely personal. There are no rules. It could be a letter, a series of videos, whatever you want. It's a space for your core beliefs, your most important stories, your gratitude, and yeah, even your regrets. It's your chance to make sure your wisdom is there to guide people long after you're gone.
And when you start to frame legacy this way, it leads to this really comforting, quiet realization about what real impact actually looks like.
Because after the money is gone and the titles are forgotten, something does remain. It's the values you wouldn't compromise on, the calm you showed when everything was chaotic, the quiet standards you held yourself to. What's left is your influence, without any of the ego attached.
You may never actually see the full ripple effect of your life. You might never know all the people who live a little differently because of an example you set. But that doesn't make the impact any smaller. In fact, it kind of purifies it. It becomes a gift given freely with no expectation of getting a thank you.
So this brings us full circle to a totally different way of keeping score, a new definition of what it really means to be wealthy.
It's a balance sheet of the intangibles. The real measure isn't what you collected for yourself, but what you passed on to others. Did you create stability for the people you love? Did you model courage? Did you pass on character and wisdom? That's the real net worth.
And in the end, maybe it all just boils down to this one simple, powerful idea. The true measure of your success is reflected in the lives of others. If your time here made someone else's journey even a little bit better, that is a life well lived. That is enough.
So how do you actually live this way? Well, it's all about playing the long game. Build your wealth without a lot of noise. Protect your peace of mind like it's a fortress. And be intentional, really intentional about passing your values forward.
And that's really the question we want to leave you with. When you strip away all the noise, all the stuff, all the temporary things, what are you really leaving behind? Answering that question for yourself, that's the first step to building a legacy that actually lasts.